Okay, everybody, welcome to day 90, the update 90 days in from when we started with all the seeds and starts in the Backyard Abundance Project. It's an amazing day because it's kind of that merging of seasons where we've got the fall and winter veggies started. We're still harvesting from what was productive in summer. There's seeds to save. There's just so many places to look. So just to start off, I've been harvesting more pole beans, the beans that are up here behind the tomatoes. And we've been regularly picking beans every second or third day for about 30 days. Now these are the ones that I would say are overripe, or they were let just grow too long. So they're not going to taste super awesome. But I find that the ones between about this size and about this size, they're wonderful to eat. So picking between those sizes works out really well. Depends on the beans. So we've still got lots of beans coming on. Picked probably what'll be the last green pepper of the season from the green pepper plant. So there she is. And I think it's the last of the cucumbers as well. I just picked these cucumbers today, and there's another 6 in there from the long English plant. It's well past 35 cucumbers provided so far this season. And I think we're gonna uproot that plant now, chop it off at the roots, and just let the soil start to rest there before we plant for winter. But what I really wanted to do with you today was harvest some tomatoes and some beets right here, and just show you what we've got going on. So I'm just gonna pull the camera in a little closer. We'll get some harvesting going on right here. I'm not going to complain on a sunny day that it's hard to see. So these are some of the smaller varieties of tomatoes coming off, and these are just the first ones we've had so far. And then I just want to take you over and show some of the bigger tomatoes in a second. I'll just move this bin out of the way, because remember, under these tomatoes have been growing beets, and many of them, you know, they didn't start to size up until we thinned the tomato leaves. But see, now we've got beets that are looking like this. So I'll just pull a few so that you realize this isn't a one-off. There's plenty of beets that have sized up nicely that are coming out of here. They're looking great, and as we thin a few more, I think they're going to keep on growing and sizing up better. Here's another nice one. So lots of beet options coming on. Oh, and there's many more here still to harvest, but just to give you a sense of those ones there, there's some beauties that we're going to clean up and get ready in the harvest bowl as well. And now we'll just move down a little bit. Oh, you know, while we're here, let's look at these purple tomatoes. Check these out. So the side that's been facing the sun is like dark purple, and the back side is starting to turn orange and ripen. So they're a really cool tomato that I've never grown before. And I'm just gonna grab another one here. See, it's orange on the shade side and deep purple on the sun side. I'm just gonna cut one open and see what we get inside. It's actually dripping with juice. Oh my goodness, they're ripe. I didn't realize they were. So I've got some purple and red tomatoes to harvest as well. Good news. We'll just move on to some of the big ones. So just shifting over just a little bit in the garden here. Some tomatoes that are the bigger size that have been coming on really nicely. You can see the size of those. And there's a few more here. And this is always a beautiful thing, because when many of the crops are starting to wind down, the tomatoes are just coming on. If you haven't harvested tomatoes before, just keep in mind, you can harvest a tomato when it's starting to turn color. So I'll give you an example of this one. It doesn't look fully ripe or red next to the one that I just picked before it. But if this is just put in a warm place, maybe on a kitchen counter, within a few days it'll ripen up and have full flavor. So there's plenty of tomatoes coming on here now as well. And we'll put a few more of the purple ones in the bowl. So in this bed, we've got cucumbers, beans, a pepper, and lots of beets and tomatoes. And this bed probably still has another 20 days of productivity in the tomatoes and in the beans department. We're going to turn around now and look at what we've planted for the fall bed between day 80 and now. So, cue the rooster. If you've been watching the videos since day 80, you know that I did a little bit of work in this garden. It used to be potatoes here and carrots there. We alternately planted where the carrots were, cabbage and kale, which are coming on beautifully. They've doubled in size in the first week they've been planted. Then we put a double row down this drip line of lettuces and things in the onion family, bunching onions, leeks closer to the camera, and some Walla Walla onions, which will overwinter and grow. The concern we had previously in this bed is the soil definitely had wireworm in it, which was affecting the potatoes a bit and completely obliterating previous shots at growing lettuce. So this lettuce here, I was very concerned about wireworm taking it out. So we did a little experiment, remember? We used these little markers and we put a piece of sliced up potato on it to try to see if we could lure any wireworms. Well, since I've planted these in the last 5-6 days, I've come back and checked all the wireworm potato baits 3 times. I haven't found a single wireworm, and all the lettuce is looking really good as well. So I'm not sure entirely why, other than having mixed up the soil a bit and putting the bait in, maybe the onions that are in here, but all the lettuces are looking good, and hopefully they're going to keep on rocking. I'd mentioned to you in the previous video that we'd be having beans soon on these beans, and they are starting, and I'll just pick a premature one to show you how small these bush beans are right now. They're that big, right? So I probably have another week before I'm harvesting the bush beans, but they're coming great, and once they're done, we'll gently remove them and keep the beets that are in that row growing. So this bed is pounding. Now we're going to move over one more bed and take a look at zucchini and melon, the greens there, and also look at some seeds. If you recall, a couple weeks ago, this zucchini plant looked so sick with powdery mildew, it was something I was considering ripping up. I think that was about 15, 20 days ago. Well, it's basically completely recovered with a few treatments, mostly just removing the mostly dead or nasty looking leaves. I just harvested these 3 zucchini in the last couple minutes. There were well past 30 zucchini off this bush, and keep in mind, even though I'm doing these updates every 10 days, out of this garden, almost every day, I'm picking food for our family and giving it away to friends. There's greens, there's herbs, beets, and all these other things coming out of the garden every day that I'm not documenting it as well. So this zucchini plant is nearing the end of its life, but it's very healthy and it keeps on producing. So I'm proud of you, little guy. We're gonna just flip around behind and look at how the melon plant is doing. So in walking around the zucchini plant to come to the melon plant, I had previously shown you 3 zucchini that I just harvested, but it's a big zucchini plant, and walking around the other side, I found 3 more. So 6 more zucchini just today. We're at the melon plant. There's a total of 10 melons on it, and on a gamble, I just grabbed the biggest of them and ran a knife through it. It's perfectly ripe, dripping with juice. It's ideal. And I want you to just note that in growing this melon plant, I bought one plant that cost $2.99, which is probably less than the price of buying 1 cantaloupe at the store, but that one plant has now given me 10 cantaloupe at the store. It's definitely given up its life to do it, but wow, a 10 timesing, right? That's like a crazy, crazy return on investment. Talk about backyard abundance, ripe cantaloupe.